made all of us stay up late and wonder what's going on and try to figure it all out, as they say. And Alan McCallum is here to help us along in our journey with trying to understand the 2016 Orioles. You know, Alan, we haven't had a lot of pennant races around here, but this is kind of what it is, right? You win one, you lose one, you win one, you lose one.
Having your best pitcher on the mound can't do it. And when you're in the pennant race and there are less than 20 games left on the season, you just can't afford to not execute that way. And that's a problem that we know the Orioles have. So, I mean, the time is running out on taking flyers on games you lose when you, let's just say, at least have a chance to tie or win the game, and that they need to figure that out for sure.
Yeah, the runners in scoring position thing, like, you know, I know these guys get accused of not walking and not really hitting a whole lot of singles, more home runs, right? I mean, I get you, but, like, in these games, this is when all of that power looks paper thin in a one-run ball game where you just need a 95-foot hit, not a 495-foot hit.
Look, I haven't looked it up, and I will research it, but I guarantee you the Orioles are in the lower echelon of teams in terms of sacrifice flies, for example. Well, I was saying to my dad about a week ago, you want to guarantee almost that the Orioles are not going to score a run, put runners on second and third with less than 2 outs, and they're most likely not going to score them.
Someone's going to strike out.
They did have a couple of ground outs in the game on Thursday. The game they lost against the Rays that where they did that. But my point is that there are little things, little intangibles that the team doesn't do. Just look at this series in Boston. I mean, they won 2 out of 3, and clearly the game 1-0 with the home run and Gossman's performance was epic, no question. But there was not a run scored in that series by the Orioles that wasn't by home run. That's insane. And Fenway Park, I mean, that's really insane. And then you look at the kinds of opportunities through the course of the season that get missed. It's hard. A couple weeks ago, I told you I couldn't see the Orioles getting in the postseason. They came back from a road trip that may have saved them being able to do that. There's no question they're in the mix of this thing. They have as much chance to get to the postseason as anybody. But it's hard to imagine a club getting through the postseason where the only thing they can really consistently do is hit home runs. I mean, that's just not how you win the World Series. At some point, you have to figure out how to find a way to create runs and how to manufacture runs.
Well, you know, we talked a lot about that on a day-by-day basis when they were trying to beat the Royals 2 years ago, right? Like, we talked about the structure of October being different than the structure of the last 6 months. Dude, I'm shocked they're this far along, right? I mean, they were conceived as a beer league softball team with a bunch of pitchers that clearly weren't 1s, 2s, or 3s, which is why they were available in March at a discount, and you can even knock a year and $12 million off the deal and still get Gallardo, and you got what you paid for. And in a big game on Thursday night against a lousy team in front of a ho-hum crowd, 1 game off the pennant race after the performance of the year, Gallardo stunk to join up on Thursday.
You know, and as bad as the home run was, it was the 2 walks that preceded it on Thursday that really just sort of hurts you. I mean, you can't afford to do that. Look, I mean, they had Miley, and Miley stunk up the joint in Boston. You know, it's interesting. There was a lot of discussion on some of the post-game shows after the game on Monday where Miley just blew up, where a reporter apparently asked Buck about a 6-man rotation, and Buck scoffed, and, you know, people were talking about, why are you talking about 6-man rotation? And I think people missed the quiet intent of that question, because, as you know, I mean, people are sort of leery about questioning Buck. And I don't think the question was so much you have 6 guys good enough to make the rotation. I think the point was, if you have 6 guys and Tillman had just pitched coming off the DL and looked really good, why on earth are you throwing Miley, who now has an 8.41 ERA as an Oriole? Why on earth are you throwing Miley against the Red Sox in one of the biggest series that you've had all year? I think that's sort of the subtle intent of that question that I think got missed by a lot of people. And I look, obviously Gallardo didn't pitch like Cy Young, but you know, at least Gallardo has while he's been awful in the first inning, he's tended to go a little bit deeper and in theory keep you in the game. But you know, Miley's been awful, and Gallardo has not been much better. Ubaldo is in the good stretch that I've mentioned on a few occasions, that he's a half-inning pitcher or half-season pitcher, and he's looked great doing it in the last month or so. But and if they get into the postseason, you're talking about 4-man rotation, and then you're looking at Tillman and Ubaldo at this point, and Gosman and Bundy, probably nursing Bundy out of the 4 spot. So I mean that you can sort of weather those storms going into the postseason and load up on relief pitchers. But I mean this season has been about their percentage of winning with Tillman on the mound, which is largely what makes up the difference in their winning. They're how much over 500 they are.
That's having an ace, right? That's what that is, right?
Right. And then the back end of the bullpen with Britton, who's is certainly an MVP candidate. And you look at what happened against the Yankees and the Red Sox on Thursday night, and realize how important having that kind of closer is, particularly when you have. And this is important. The importance of Britton's save percentage is not so much how brilliant he has been as a closer. It's how poor the rotation has been through the course of the season. That when you have an opportunity to win the games in the late innings, you have to lock those down. It is my opinion, as you know, that Britton should be in the rotation, and if the rotation was stronger, then you can weather 2 or 3 losses in the 9th inning. But given where they are, that they have very little margin for error out of the starting rotation, it makes what the bullpen does incredibly more important. And you've got 16 wins out of Brock and Givens out of the bullpen through the course of the season, with Britton's brilliance in the 9th. And the fact that they have not just been a home run hitting team, they have been one of the great home run hitting teams we've seen in modern day baseball, and quality infield defense. I mean, it is a testament to Buck in the way the team goes, and that they have heart. Anybody that says this team's not trying to win or they don't have heart, I mean, they're just not paying attention. But the structure of the team and how they go about scoring runs it's not conducive to winning in October, which is what
And Buck knows that, right? I mean, Buck would lick his chops to be managing the Texas Rangers or the Cleveland Indians and to see this bunch and to try to sort of think his way through it and pitch his way through it, knowing that this is a bunch of impatient guys, I should say.
Well, I mean, you say that, but I mean, he does have guys that he's not playing right now. I mean, they've seen a lot more lefties recently, so I mean, I guess that's part of the reason for Kim. But he's got some guys that Kim is a contact hitter that he's not playing right now. We've seen Michael Bourn play a lot in his stead, and he's come through on a couple of occasions. And we've seen Stubbs and Reimold against the lefties, and Pierce is hurting right now. But even against some right-handers, we were seeing him get some at bats. I mean, I think Buck's. I would have to assume that Buck's premise is, well, if we're going to be this team, we might as well go for broke and try and hit homer our way into the postseason.
The nights we score 8 runs, we're going to win.
Right. I mean, that seems to be what he's decided to do. But I mean, a lot of people laughed when I said they should be the Orioles should fear the Kansas City Royals 2 years ago, because they're exactly that kind of team, and that's exactly the kind of Achilles heel that the Orioles have, and that will show up for them in October, assuming that they get there.
He is Alan McCallum. You can reach him, Alan, at WNST.net, talking all things Orioles and Rays, and obviously Yankees and Red Sox, and that little miracle thing going on. It takes your mind off the Blue Jays, at least for a day, maybe the other teams, that everybody's concerned with the Red Sox and concerned with first place, and obviously losing the ground on, a very, very weirdly Fenway Park kind of finish. But I'll tell you what, you got to hand it to the Rays, who are playing tough. The Yankees playing tough. There's nobody rolling over here right now. And as much as I've accused the Twins and the Braves of rolling over perhaps for Detroit at some point, we'll find out. Time will tell. But, Rays played that game, and Cash played that game like he wanted to win it. Obviously those guys playing for their jobs as well. And I think that kind of gets lost in all of this is when these 30th and 32nd, 34th players get called up and get called into a game at Fenway Park or Yankee Stadium or Camden Yards in a pennant race. They want to perform, whatever it is, whether it's pinch hitting, whether it's defensive purposes, or whether it's getting the ball in the 6th inning.
No question, and we're talking about the failings of the Orioles, but you have to recognize and respect the fact that there are other guys on other teams trying to win, trying to keep jobs. You look back to 2011 and the Orioles playing spoiler for the Red Sox, and I remember the Orioles playing the Rays the next season in spring training, and Madden having his team stand and applaud for the Orioles because Buck played September like it mattered, and that those games were important and it helped the Rays get into the postseason that year. And then that season, 2012, the Orioles went to the postseason for the first time in a very long time. So, all you have to do is look to the Rays and fairly recent past, where that organization, even if a lot of the names have changed, but the organization certainly recognizes that playing spoiler in one season can lead to some confidence and success in the next. And you mentioned the Twins, and you say that, but I mean, the Twins took two from the Tigers to help the Orioles largely here at a point when the Tigers need every win they can get as well. And despite the Yankees being hot for a stretch there, they've started to slow down a little bit. And then lo and behold, the Mariners, who everybody left for dead, suddenly they're on a huge winning streak to put themselves back in it. So, I mean, it's certainly an exciting time. I mean, this is one of the points where people say, baseball is a boring game. I mean, you look at what's going on in the American League. Yeah, there's a lot wrapped up in the National League right now, but there are a lot of teams that are battling to get into this thing for 2 or 3 spots, whether it's the Eastern Division title or the 2 wild card spots. And seemingly every night, 4 or 5 different games are determining what the outcome is going to look like in less than 3 weeks. And a lot of people's jobs, a lot of people's contracts, and a lot of people's pride are on the line here to get into October. So, I mean, this is an exciting time. And, if you're playing from ahead, you control your own destiny, so to speak. And if you're playing from where the Orioles are on a regular basis, right now they're in the postseason as a wild card team, but to win the division, they're going to need a little help, and they're going to need to perform themselves with 4 more coming up with the Red Sox here at Camden Yards. And frankly, they need to see some of the clubs that are right with them slow down a little bit. We've seen it with the Blue Jays. The Yankees have started to slow down, but they still have to worry about Seattle and Detroit and the like, and as well as their own business.
Yeah, those sleepy teams playing in the middle of the night that we're not keeping an eye on, right?
This is an uncomfortable time if you're a sports fan. It's sexy if you're the Cubs or the Nationals right now, where you seemingly have it all locked up, and now you're just trying to nurse your players into the postseason. But you got to be hot and stay hot right now. And as much as you applaud the Orioles for coming off a big road trip 6-3 and taking care of business, it's hard not to look at the games that it feels like they should have been in, they should have won, and the first game against the Rays on Thursday night certainly fits that bill.
Red Sox with a huge comeback victory. Hanley Ramirez and David Ortiz homering late to beat Dylan Betances in Fenway Park. The Yankees lose there, but they have 3 more there. And, of course, the Orioles with 3 more against the Rays over the weekend. We'll be monitoring all of that as the weekend unfolds. We'll also be out in Cleveland. I'll be in the land of Cleve with the Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. Hopefully the Ravens will be 2-0. I watched the Bills go 0-2 the other night, and it's like, ooh, that's not a good look for them. No doubt about that. Meanwhile, we also have Maryland playing at Central Florida on Saturday night. Big reminder on that as well. Rest of the series, Jimenez and Archer, Tillman and Andries, Bundy, Odorizzi, but there's still some thought that Bundy might get pushed to Monday. We'll find out more. Luke will be monitoring all that at Oriole Park at Camden Yards all weekend long, as well as out on our social media. Nasty at WNST.net reaches me. He is Alan at WNST.net. You can find us out on Twitter as well as Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and with Eric Weddle up in Harford County. We are swabbing Eric Weddle and chatting with him for the Bone Marrow Registry on Tuesday night at Adams Jeep in Aberdeen. Starts at 7:30. Come on out. There goes my hero. Will be there. I think my wife's going to be there. It'll be a big time. We have our big golf tournament on Monday with Ruth's Chris out at Woodholm, as well as many, many sponsors donating to the cause. So big weekend in Cleveland, big weekend at Camden Yards. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.